Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to another episode of The Path Forward here at TASA Midwinter in Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Dr. Rick Fernandez, and I have a very special guest and friend, Dr. Michael Webb, Chief Academic Officer, Tomball ISD. Welcome.
Thank you, man. It's been maybe a few years, but it's nice to see you.
Have I aged?
Well, no, because I see you every week on Twitter and do this podcast. So I have been I haven't seen you.
You can't get rid of me, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I keep track. I learned a lot from Dr. Cordona and how he barbecues from this podcast.
He was on today, by the way.
He
He's one of the best, so transparent. So I got to make sure I'm asking him questions that he's not going to get himself in trouble. But he is just everything on the table. That's why right. I love having him, because he's going to tell you like it is.
That's right.
Well, congratulations, Lenore. I know it's a little late in coming, but Chief Academic Officer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Transitioned into the Chief Academic Officer about a year ago, last fall semester. So maybe about a year and a half into it now, but. It's great to make a transition when you're already familiar with the district. So I didn't have to go in there and figure out where the light switches are, and and try to remember names of people. It was nice, and there's a good structure already in the district. So my challenge is how can you innovate from that?
Right.
So we've taken this concept and we have embedded it within our literacy plan of looking at the bright spots. So when we look at innovation, it's not about bringing in something new. It's about finding things that you're doing well and bringing that to scale.
Okay.
So if you remember, a few years ago, you and I, we traveled out to California, went to the Apple campus.
Right.
One thing I took from that visit is they said that the future is here, it's just not well distributed. And so we're kind of taking that concept in Tomball and looking for bright spots. The future is here. I mean, we have some of the most effective teachers and teaching practices and routines and strategies I think that you can find anywhere.
No question.
It's just not at scale.
That's right.
So what we did with our literacy plan, we launched it at the beginning of this school year, was we went around and we have videoed and we've documented and we have captured in a framework what are the most effective teachers doing. So when you come into our system, if you're a new principal, if you're a new teacher, what do we believe about literacy? And it's not anything new. It's about what has worked in the district.
So, there's been a big hubbub about literacy and some of the tried and true, or what we thought was tried and true practices. How does that come into play when you're evaluating how do we teach literacy? How do we teach reading and writing and phonics and all of those things? What do you lean on to kind of guide the ship?
Yeah, so in Tomball, there's a lot of autonomy in the classroom.
Right.
We don't have scripted lessons. We do have a scope and sequence. We do have a framework that teachers work within. We are not anchored by any one textbook in any content area throughout the district. So we have a lot of resources that are available to teachers, but I always go back to those 4 PLC questions. What is it that we want kids to know? How do we know that they have learned it? What do we do if they don't? And what do we do if those kids that already have? So when you're looking at, what are teachers doing in the classroom based on new evidence and new practices, it goes back to what do we want kids to know and are they learning it? And right. I think our teachers, what is tightly held in Tomball is assessment. What is loosely held in Tomball is curriculum implementation.
Right.
So in Tomball, we support all teachers in a tight way, which is a very a systemic way of unit test and district benchmark test, and even now with our precision tests in CTE, we can answer that question: is what are kids learning?
Yep. So leadership question for you. I mean, and I hope I don't embarrass you, but I think everybody would agree that you are and were one of the foremost experts in special education and how to get the most and the best outcomes for our students who need the most support in our school system. How do you go from knowing it like you do and being able to serve students and teachers like you do to now broadening the scope and understanding that's a piece of it, but now there's so much more?
Well, the whole world is an art now. We've got different perspectives, and And in special education, since the beginning of special education, we've always have had to listen to parents as partners in education to develop that IEP. I think some people may be struggling now in leadership roles because you do need to be responsive. We should have always been responsive to parents, but parents are there now.
Yep.
And the whole world is an art. I mean, I think my leadership skills, was not as a campus leader. It came through special education, director of special education, but it always, if you're in special education and leadership in special education, it always has been working to reach consensus from a group. And I think now, more so than ever, leaders have got to be able to listen to the communities, respond to them, find common ground, stand strong when you need to, but be able to communicate that. But really, that's what an art is.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been doing for a long time. And I think that positioned me better for this point in time that we are in public education.
What's been your biggest stretch or the biggest push outside your comfort zone in the new role?
Leading areas in which you have not had experience,
Yeah.
such as CTE, such as library sciences, such as ag. But there is a lot, and I think so if we just take CTE, we've able to in the last year we've been able to expand our programs of study. We've included now cybersecurity, aviation, legal, law enforcement. Next year we will have rolling out our new P-Tech, which will be a part of Tomball Star Academy, and I think that the innovation that has been a part of our CTE vision helped well, because in special education you always have to change. You can't never really sit back on what you've done before.
Right.
And so I really have learned and learned from the best, and Bob Thompson and Carla Sandoval and our CTE teams.
Absolutely.
I think that we have formed a good team, and we're able to get these new offerings out to kids, and kids are signing up, and kids are starting to access a more coordinated pathway that will help them after high school.
Have you found, and we work together, I love CTE. Have you found that part of our path forward to making CTE almost rebranding is how do we take these programs that our parents and even some of us as leaders have experienced, and what we experience in the classroom in high school or even in college is not near what the experience is now, and not near the technology, the ability to have certificates and all these different opportunities. That's not how we experience. So our mental model of it as parents, and I say we as our generation, is way different. And I felt like there's been a stigma of CTE is for the kids that aren't going to college. And that is absolutely not the case. It's part of our issue. How do we make sure our parents, and then as a byproduct, our students understand what it truly is?
I look at CTE the same way I look at athletics, and the same way I look at basketball or football. I think that there are kids that are more engaged in school than they would have been otherwise because of basketball, or they're more engaged in school than they otherwise would because they are on the football team. It's the same thing with CTE. CTE is all about engagement, and it's coordinated engagement. So when we talk to parents and we talk about the industry standard equipment and facilities that we now have in Tomball that can engage a kid in a coordinated way. So we're not talking about taking electives in a random fashion, the way that many of us did when we were in school, but in a coordinated way. We're talking about being able to, graduate college with that, or graduate high school with that industry-based certification in a stackable way. So when we talk about a stackable, you could have a student that's Harvard-bound accessing a coordinated pathway in CTE, and that student is better off stacking those certifications, even though they might not be using them at the entry level. And the tools that I think kids are able to get in high school, and they're able to experience careers that would not have occurred until their mid-20s after college. So you're able now in Tomball, you can sit in our mock courtroom, and you can experience what the jury experience is like. You can experience what a deliberation is like, or opening arguments. And in the past, you might not have experienced that until perhaps in law school. We have a law enforcement simulator now that we share. That it's Tomball's, but our police department comes because they don't have that level of equipment at the Tomball Police Department.
Wow.
And our simulators are giving kids experiences to engage them that they would not have otherwise had. And I do believe that CTE is making better overall students even outside that pathway. So our sell to parents is it's all about engagement. It's not about you believe that your child is college bound, therefore this career technical education, or some refer to it as vocational, is not appropriate. I mean, you look at ag. The reason that we have ag is to develop leaders. You look at the presentation skills and the public speaking that you get through an ag program. You don't have to have a future in agriculture to benefit from ag sciences and those pathways in CTE in high school. You even look now, we are following a bill looking at ROTC might become under the CTE umbrella. Mm-hmm. But ROTC is all about leadership.
Yeah.
It's not about that next step into the military. That may occur, but if you look at our district, less than 5% of the kids in ROTC are going to the military, and that doesn't mean it's a failure.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think a lot of students would 100% benefit from ROTC in leadership. I have a lot of opportunities to talk to businesses and companies and work with a variety of folks. And one of the qualities that they're all, can a kid show up and be responsible? And ROTC and some of the requirements and some of the leadership training that they have, that is the bare minimum that you have to have in the workforce. And it is absolutely of value regardless if they go to the military or decide to do something else. I think that's, highly, highly beneficial. Tomball is a great district, and there's a lot of reasons why. Some from this past year, what are some of the highlights? Because I know A-rated district, top district in Region 4, but are there some other ones that I'm missing there?
So I think if you go back and look at CTE, 3 years ago, we had students earn 100 industry-based certifications. This past year, we had over 1,300.
Oh, my goodness.
We only graduate about 600 kids. So what does that mean? We have kids getting multiple IBCs before they finish high school. And I think number one, what that means is public education has been responsive to the business narrative over the past few decades that of saying, schools have got to have a meaningful place in preparing kids to compete in the market. So when we now have 1,000 industry-based certifications being issued to over 500 or 600 kids, that's responsive to the market. And many of those kids are not going into entry-level jobs, but they're stacking them. I think that's a huge success in Tomball in just a short manner of time. But we talk about this all the time in Tomball. What is unique about Tomball is being able to handle the growth, the rapid increase in enrollment, and also increase achievement at the same time. So when you look at our system, you look at 1 out of 2 kids in Tomball today, almost 3 out of 4 kids in Tomball have not gone through the system K through 12. So we've got to acclimate students into our system as quickly as possible, into our way of teaching, into our expectations, into our rigor, so then we can produce the academic achievement that's expected by our community. So to grow, and then also to grow achievement at the same time has been something that's very unique to our school district.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I hadn't considered. I see all the accolades and obviously unbelievable district, but I had not considered how difficult that is when you think of all the variables that come into play each year.
Because you're not just talking about 1,000 new kids each year. You're also talking about 150 new teachers. We're building a new building every year for the next 5 years. So you can't just rest and say, okay, we've got our staff, we've got our structure. No. It's new. It's the kids are new, the teachers are new, the administrators are new, and that's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Man, that is amazing just to sit here and consider that. You want to change gears? Let's change some gears and wrap up with a little bit of fun.
All right.
I would say for our audience, Dr. Webb and I are former college basketball players, so we love to talk basketball. I was watching ESPN the other day. They were having the debate of debates that's been going on for a while, right? So Jordan versus LeBron, who is the best? I've always been a Jordan guy, but I thought about it, and I've come to a different realization on it. So first I'm going to ask you, what is your take? Jordan or LeBron, greatest basketball player of all time?
Michael Jordan, 10 days out of 10 days. Twice on Sundays.
And give me a couple of reasons why.
I think, and I'm not saying that LeBron James might be a better player, might have the higher credential at this point, that has had a longer career. I like the way Michael Jordan competes.
Right.
I like his killer instinct. I like the way he focuses on, in a laser type of manner, improving, winning, and improving the people around him. Of course, LeBron is a competitor. I don't know if he has what MJ had as a competitor.
Okay.
And when you also look at Michael Jordan, which I think, what draws me more to Michael Jordan, who else is in the, always in the discussion, the best basketball player ever, and was also rated a number of times the best defensive player in the.
Right. Okay. Let me get your feedback on my opinion. So we're somewhat aligned. I've come over to the belief that if you're looking at straight basketball player, that LeBron James is the better basketball player, right? Out of the context of the team and all of that. If I were on that team, if I had to pick which team I would be on to have one of them as my teammate, I would rather play with LeBron. I would have a better time playing with LeBron. It would be better for me. I would win more. I would grow more as a player playing with MJ.
That's right.
If my kids had a choice, I would want them to play with MJ. I know that it would be tough. I know it would not be fun all the time. There would be a different level of intensity and accountability, but I believe they would achieve more, not only with their their personal goals, but as a team.
He would expect more, and he would hold you accountable for that in your face.
Absolutely. So that begs the question: do great teams, do great districts have to have people that hold others unwaveringly accountable, even if it's not in the way that everyone enjoys, everyone likes, everyone is going to even accept at times? Don't you have to have that person?
There can be no meetings behind the meetings. When the leaders of a district get to a table, there has to be real conversation there.
Yep.
We can't just go through the meeting and cordially agree, and then go to the meeting behind the meeting to get things done.
Yep.
And I think that that's the Michael Jordan type of leadership. When you come to a meeting, come with your different ideas, come to compete, but also come to win. And also that does mean at times compromising and giving the ball to someone else. But when we come to a meeting, when we come to a project, we've got to work together and hold each other accountable. No one can do it on their own.
100%. Okay, so you do agree. I was thinking you were not going to agree with my premise there, but it took me a while to get to the place where I was going to actually admit one-on-one basketball player. I'm going with LeBron.
Oh, he's bigger.
He's stronger.
He's stronger.
All
he's lasted longer.
Yeah. He'll get the scoring record. All of those
right.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, viewers, listeners, hit the like, hit the subscribe, make some comments. Tell me I'm right and he's wrong on our conversation about Jordan and LeBron. And Dr. Michael Webb from Tomball ISD, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
You.
Yes,
thank
sir.
You so much.
Produced by Podcast Architects.